Hello everyone. So today I'm going to talk about a very trendy thing, which is code versus no code. So the real question that I'm getting asked often is, can I and should I consider the no code technologies to build my prototype, to build my application? So of course, as often, the answer is it depends. So it depends on what, and that's exactly what I'm going to develop. And by the end of this episode, you will understand exactly if you should consider the no-code or not. So first off, no-code, if it's trendy, if it's well-known, it is because it's great, period. It's very great for prototyping to launch quite simple app. You can go straight forward to what you need. And it's also very good to deploy an application that has already been built. Basically, if you want to reproduce a marketplace, Airbnb things, or whatever things that already exist, there are some really no-code ninja that did build some templates, and for $100 to maybe $500, you can buy those templates, just change the logo, and then that's it. You have your application, and you just need to change a couple of things, tweak a couple of workflows, and you have basically a very good application. So does no code fit to what you want to build? It depends if what you want to create already exists and if there are some templates that really fit. Now, the real question that I'm often getting asked is, does it scale? So there are two ways to see that question. First, technically speaking, does the no code technology can scale? And the answer is yes. The technology can absolutely scale. The people who developed solutions like, Bubbles, etc., they did some very good job from a technical point of view, so their solution can absolutely scale. The question is, does your solution built on no-code solution can scale? And that's often when the answer is no. So, when we develop an application, when we get started, everything is quite simple. Whether it's in code or no code, we structure our data, we structure our interface, we link both with each other, and it works. But after months and years, we add features and new structures, etc., until it gets to a point where it can be very complex. And if you are not very experienced developers, no matter if you're in code or no code, things are going to be very messy, and you will need to redevelop everything from scratch. So that's the risk if you want to build an application with no code. If you are not working with a professional that is really good in no code, in that case, you might run the risk to just drop everything you have and just move on more often on the code thing. If you have a professional, maybe he will be able to move faster and a bit further, but until a certain point where the no code do not add anything at all. Because if you have a complex algorithm, if you have complex things, it's much easier to understand line of codes, and it's much easier to find engineers that can understand those line of codes. While for a no-code application, if you have tons of workflows, etc., it's not very easy to understand. And if you want to flip through the application, it has to be the one who created the application that really understand. And I'm not even talking about building a team of 10 engineers working on the same application. That can be a real nightmare in no code. So what the no code cannot do is to scale the development, is to scale the complexity of your application, and you will at some point, sooner or later, reach the limit of the no code. But still, if you are a startup, Paul Graham said, do things that don't scale. You can focus on no code for the first stages for sure, and even later on, I recommend you to migrate one component after another. So, conclusion. Yes, before we move on to the conclusion, let's talk about that. The point about the migration from no code to code, because if at some point you have a business, you will need to move on down that path. In that situation, the best things is to start to identify what are the core components that are too complex to maintain in the no-code environment. And then to develop what we call microservices. So with microservices, we will be able to handle a couple of tasks outside of the code and the no-code technology. And same thing with data. Basically, if you developed a social media on a no-code platform, it's going to be very limited in terms of the amount of message, etc. Not technically speaking, but to handle the maybe the analytics, maybe a bit of AI or maybe machine learning things, you will not be able to do whatever you want with this technology. So you will need to export some data on an outside database, and that's where API can be great, because you can integrate and connect your front end that is still on the no code to another backend that will be developed with real code on another side. And then that's where you are going to start to extract features by features in terms of backend, extract the functions that you have on the backend on another API until you reach the point where the no code will just be a front end, just be the interface. And you can use the no-code technology to just connect to your own database, to your own API, to your own microservices, and not using the database provided by the no-code solutions. And that's going to be the transition that you will need to do down the road. So that's how we transition things. So in conclusion, should you consider no-code for your startup? Definitely yes. For prototyping, for the first stages, as soon as you don't want to create something too complex and that you are not going to invest too much right away, and you need to prove your market. If you need to prove your market, go for the no-code. That's a very good way to develop for a very cheap price. Then make the transition to external database and with external microservices. That's the key to extract the complexity of maintaining an application under the no-code environment. And keep the main front end of your project, your public website, maybe the funnel or the payment, keep that under no-code technology. No need to develop the sales page, because if you're a good salesman or a good marketer, you should change your sales page on regular basis to optimize and your funnel and optimize your message. So stick to using no code. That's really relevant just for the public side of your application. For the scalable side and for the side that might become complex down the road, you will have to move away from no code at some point, sooner or later. I hope it helps. There is another concept between the no code and the low code and the no code and code, which is the low code, and that's something that I'm gonna dive into in another episode very soon. But until then, I wish you a great day, great rest of the day, and take care. And I will talk to you very soon in another episode. Bye for now.